I'm live. Okay. It is Monday, the 17th of April, 2023. Isn't it interesting how time just flows like sand through your hand? I am reading out of So Moses Was Born. It's a novel or a book written by Joan Grant. She was described as a seer. She used to write books of her far memories. She wrote 7 books. This is the 7th. It plays in ancient Egypt before the time of Moses' birth. It is written from the perspective of Nebunefer. He was originally going to be the royal heir, but when his father, the Pharaoh, dies, he yields the crook and flail to his younger brother, Ramoses II, and retires to the living water, a remote estate. He is on this estate, and he has given sanctuary to Lady Irie. She had a problem at the palace. This is in the previous chapters. And she is now in the living waters, and we had a very sad ending to the previous chapter because Sensen, the wife of Nebunefer, dies. Master of Expediency. You may have noticed that the box which contains this manuscript is divided into 2 parts. The central partition, though apparently only a strip of cedar wood, in fact represents 18 years. These years do not directly concern you, for during this period of my life I learned nothing which might bring you more intimate understanding of Ramoses. So I take up my story on a certain day of late summer, to be precise 6,724 days after the death of Sensen. The arrival of a stranger at the living water was no longer an unusual occurrence, so when Quen, who at Passar's death had succeeded him as overseer, told me that a noble from the north wished to see me, I was not particularly interested. Does he seem ill in body or only in mind? I asked, for Quen had considerable experience in judging the quality of those who sought advice from us. Quen laughed. The affliction appears to be inflammation of an overdeveloped sense of his own importance. His litter bearers found the Wadi road too steep, and he objected to riding on a pack donkey. Then you can look after him until I have been to the stables. It will be salutary for him to cool his impatience. Mina met me on my return from the high village. Sorry. I don't know why there is ads, but there is ads. Then you can look after him until I have been to the stables. It will be salutary for him to cool his impatience. Mina met me on my return from the high village. She was wearing the woolen wig, which usually appeared only on feast days, and the carnelian necklace, of which, for some imponderable reason, she was particularly proud. I've invited the guests to eat with you, she said in conspiratorial tones intended to inspire curiosity. Her eyes were bright as a bird's that offers a grub to its fledglings. I'm sure you will both find plenty to talk about. It was unusual for Mina to ask anyone to the house without my permission, but I was no more than mildly interested. There's plenty of meat for Quen had a young bull killed yesterday. This will be a proper meal, she said briskly, and you had better put on a fresh kilt, for Prince Karadan has always been fussy about the formalities. She had achieved her objective, for now I was really startled. Karadan, are you sure? The vizier of the 2 lands himself, and not finding it easy to pretend he is no more than a minor noble. Then we had better serve the wine of the 12th year. It's already cooling. Now hurry along and don't keep him waiting any longer. I patted her affectionately on the shoulder. Don't try to deceive me. What you mean is that you will be restless as a flea on a hotbed brick until you find out why he has come here. Karadin was pacing up and down the paved walk under the vine pergola. He appeared agitated, or was it only that he was offended at being kept waiting? What brings you here, dear brother? I said. Dare I hope that it is only the proof of fraternal affection? What is more natural than that I should seize this rare opportunity of visiting you? I laughed without rancor. Surely the master of expediency does not have to wait 20 years for opportunities to serve him? He avoided a direct answer. Neb, you look remarkably young for your age. No one would think you were 42. But, of course, your life has been far less arduous than mine. Obscurity has its compensations. Then you have no regrets? None. You need have no fear that I harbour any resentment for my somewhat precipitate decision. His short-sighted eyes became less weary. You're happy? It has been worth it, even since she died? We had 4 years together. I think I have been useful here in my small way. At least it pleases me to think so. I'm sure you've done very well, he said, like a scribe encouraging a backward pupil. I've already observed many proofs of your admirable influence. The houses are excellently planned. The water channels would do credit to a palace garden. Every cubit of land is under cultivation. And the people? All in remarkably good condition, and so are the cattle. Not a blemish on any of them. I made particular note. With a smile I led him to the table that had been set under one of the shade trees which Sensen had planted. I saw that the appointments pleased him, and wondered, oh, for goodness sake, what is this? I really chose the wrong one here. All in remarkable good condition, and so are the cattle, not a blemish on any of them. I made particular note. With a smile I led him to the table that had been set out under one of the shade trees which Sensen had planted. I saw that the appointments pleased him, and wondered if he would be surprised to learn that everything, from French napkins to alabaster drinking cups, had been made by my own people. I am most flattered that my small estate meets with the approval of one so well qualified to judge, I said smoothly. But I think you did not come so far to compliment me. Neb, you are always too direct for comfort. Why should I not come to see you? From what I hear, people come a long way to consult the Lord of the living waters. You exaggerate my small success. He leaned forward, his thin hands tightening on the arms of the chair. Neb, why do they come to see you? It's a long story. I had better eat first, or Mina will say the food is spoiled. Mina is still with you? She must be over 70. 73 to be exact, but still capable of scolding either of us if she thinks we deserve it. Had it not been for Mina, no trace of me would exist except in the memory of a few people here, and as a carving on some of our father's less important monuments. Karadin seemed embarrassed. Your name has been replaced by the name of Ramosis. You must not blame him, for it was done at Tua's order. He sighed. Ramosis is far too inclined to take the credit for what other men have built. I protest vigorously, but he only says that to build everything new would overburden the treasury. Mina came in with the first dish, and he greeted her cordially. A remarkable woman, he said, when she had made sure we approved of the goose stuffed with artichokes and green almonds, and had gone back to Chivy the cook. You say that she saved your life. When Sensen died, I fear that I did not behave with a seemly acceptance of tragedy. To be honest, I considered killing myself. Would have been a most disgraceful example to your people, he said, in a voice which would better have expressed his disapproval had his mouth not been filled with goose. I congratulate you most warmly, O wise and illustrious brother, for it is obvious that you have never been driven to the brink of an action against which your reason protested. I was not so fortunate. I endured my grief for a year, convinced that the gods would take pity on my separation from the woman I loved more than I loved Egypt. The door did not open, so I was foolish enough to think that I could enter by forcing the bolts, so that no one would know that Sensen's husband was a coward. I'm not going to choose that again. I went alone with the goats to a distant pasture, telling a herd boy to join me there at the next full moon. I intended to open a vein in my wrist. Vultures would have removed the evidence, and my people would have thought I had been killed by a leopard while defending the flock. A decent, if somewhat mundane, demise. I should have known you would not disgrace our family. Forgive me for misjudging you. Would it be important to inquire what made you change your mind? I was about to tell you, but first you must try the second course of our humble meal. Your cook is a genius. I must see her later and compliment her in person. I always insist on encouraging the servants of my host when they deserve it. These little courtesies are too often neglected. Your manners have always been impeccable, Caradon. Even when we were children, you seldom grabbed that last cake before offering it to your juniors. He laughed heartily, knowing that their nurses would be shocked if they took it in the presence of the eldest son. Always expedience was I, even as a boy. It serves Egypt well, for Rameses is far too apt to rely on chariots instead of treaties. But you were telling me, what made you change your mind? On what I thought would be my last night as Neb, I had a dream. I stood by the dying embers of the fire, over which I had heated water to wash my body for death. I drew my hunting knife across the vein of my wrist. Blood spurted on the ground. I was surprised that there was so much blood. It formed a rivulet, which widened into a darkening river, yet I felt neither pain nor faintness. I heard Sensen's voice, Neb, do not let your blood divide us. Before the red river I could see her, and there were tears in her eyes. I tried to wade towards her, but my feet were trapped, as though they were held fast in mummy wrappings. I cried out, Sensen, help me to reach you. I bring you my life. I have no other gift to offer. She shook her head sorrowfully. You must share your life with others until the gods decide. I may share mine. With the sound of her voice in my ears, I woke. The desert was silent except for the bark of a jackal in the far distance. Caradon appeared to find my story disconcerting and coughed to hide his embarrassment. A most remarkable experience, Neb, most remarkable. I presume this dream was the reason why you have acquired certain priestly attributes. It made me determined to train myself to become frequently aware of Sensen's presence. At first I tried many false avenues. I was foolish enough to think that I could burnish my soul by weakening its link with my body. I alternatively fasted or drank inordinate quantities of wine until I became plagued with fantasies. I tried several conscious containing poppy juice. I don't know. Usually I don't have any problems here. Sorry. well, you just have to wait because this is annoying, but it is as it is. So I will just stop this here. With any luck, it will continue. It's getting too dark now. I alternatively fasted or drank inordinate quantities of wine, and I became plagued with fantasies. I tried several concoctions containing poppy juice and dreamt dreams which in my saner moments I knew to be unreal. I invented ordeals of physical endurance and found myself trapped in a net of pains, which prevented me even thinking clearly. I then entered a hell whose existence I had not previously considered. I found myself to be a most ordinary man. Well, I stop this here. This chapter is entitled Master of Expediency, and a second part will follow.